The race for Seattle mayor continues. There are 8 people on this August ballot as we prepare for the primary. 7 of them are newcomers, but we do have one incumbent.
Welcome back to Seattle's Morning News, Mayor Bruce Harrell.
Thank you for having me.
Why do you want this job for another 4 years?
Well, we have a lot of work to do. And I think that in my first term, we stabilized things. We tried to have normal conversations, but in terms of housing issues, public safety issues, transportation issues, we laid a great foundation by which to build upon. And again, with the challenges we're having with our federal government, having to sue our own federal government, I think we need stable, strong, effective leadership, being able to articulate the issues to protect our city. And so that's why I'm running for re-election.
In speaking to other candidates, as well as just people on the street, the 3 issues that keep coming up are housing, homelessness, and crime. I'd like to give you an opportunity to talk about some of your accomplishments and what you're planning to do in the next 4 years.
Well, housing is an issue that almost every major city is facing. And what we've done from a policy standpoint, we did pass one of the largest housing levies in our entire history, almost $1 billion. In my administration in housing, we've spent over $1 billion in my budget, and at $343 million in our budget. That's unprecedented numbers. We've built over 33,000 units, 5,000 of which are affordable. And in terms of planning for our growth, we proposed a comprehensive plan to grow 330,000 units, to produce 330,000 units in the next many years to accommodate our growth. So from a policy standpoint, we're doing everything possible. The fact of the matter is that income has not kept pace with the cost of housing, and that would be healthcare, tuition, the other cost to live in Seattle. The other issue of public safety, our crime rates are great. When I took office, we lost 300 officers. We had a demoralized police department. And in addition to now, for example, in 2020, we had 721 applications. I know the data fairly well. Right, that's per year. Right now, we're getting over 4,000 applications. So I took a demoralized police department, and through changing policies and inspiration, we're building them back up. And we created a brand new care department, which is a non-GUDGE response to mental crisis. And so we have an outstanding chief in Amy Barton. So we've recreated the sort of what modern policing looks like. And then with respect to again, public safety, our crime rates are trending in the right way. They're going down. Our homicides are down. Violent crimes are down. Serious crime is down. So we're doing everything possible to protect everyone. What was the other issue you asked about?
Homelessness.
Homelessness is, again, you look at the 2,000 emergency shelter units where there's permanent supportive housing, tiny homes. 85% of all tiny homes in the county actually rest in Seattle. And that's not, we don't want anyone to have to always live in the tiny homes, but we've reduced the encampments by 80%, RVs by 50%. So if you look at the work, and this is not organic growth, this is intentionality, rebuilding a city. And quite candidly, no one running for this position has the remotely has the experience, the executive experience, the academic experience, the professional experience. I've proposed 500 bills since I've been mayor, 800 when I was on the city council. So if you just look at the math and what we're doing, but that I'm running for re-election because I'm the best qualified. But let me say, from a spirit of humility, we have a lot of work to do, and I'm up for it.
Mayor Harrell, I want to go back to crime just for a moment, because as you mentioned, violent crime is down in the city. But if you talk to the people in the Chinatown International District or, say, Aurora Avenue, North Seattle, they're seeing shootouts on North Aurora. What do you say to those people?
It's unfortunate that Seattle and every major city are almost, the issue of gun violence is just very, very prevalent. So from a policy standpoint, we're getting about 2,000 guns off the streets per year. We're very aggressive. And remember that even some of my candidates believed in the defund model, right? So what I'm trying to do in increasing on a police presence is to make sure that we can, number one, get the guns off the streets. We can work with our legislature, who did a great job when you look at assault rifles and the other types of things that we're able to prohibit. But again, there's more work to be done. When I lost 300 officers when I took office, there was not a use of technology, for example. And so we're looking at on Aurora as an example with our real-time crime prevention technology that we have in place now, where we could actually have eyes on some of these troubled areas. We're going after some of the bad people, and we're able to make apprehension. So we'll continue to do everything possible. Am I satisfied with the progress we've made? Absolutely not. You don't want a mayor that says, oh yeah, everything is safe. So you're going to continue to see a very aggressive approach on keeping people safe through technology, through people, through prevention, through upstream services. Make sure that we understand why people commit crimes. And I read a lot about criminology and the different theories of crime prevention and why people commit crimes. And so I think, you need an executive that looks at the world of crime prevention through a holistic model. And I have a superstar in Chief Barnes. I have new leadership. And so we're going to do everything possible to keep people safe.
We're hearing from residents of Belltown who are saying it's the worst they've ever seen it. Specifically, if we're talking Blanchard between 2nd and 3rd, they have complaints of open-air drug dealing, fentanyl being used in the open. There's feces on the streets. Businesses are saying they've had to lock their doors. They say the city has not been responsive. They haven't heard from the city, and they haven't heard from you. What do you want them to know?
Well, number one, I take the feedback, so I don't say you're wrong. But the fact is that the data would sort of refute some of that we have more people coming here. We're the 4th fastest growing city. People are still living in Belltown. But for me, the conditions are still unacceptable. But you see a much stronger police presence. What people don't seem to understand is, particularly with respect to drug use, there's an intersectionality between health and crime. And a lot of people are just killing themselves. And so what I'm trying to do is work stronger with the health department. We don't control the health department. We pay into a system. I'm trying to make sure that intersectionality produces the results that we want, because they're not producing the results we want to see. Now, you've seen us make a lot of arrests, both for we made a $3 million drug arrest on 12th and Jackson. That was enough fentanyl and drugs and heroin to kill the city twice. Okay, 14 of the most prolific criminals after a 1.5 year investigation are now off the street. So you do see progress, but again, you're seeing more and more people kill themselves, and you're seeing people preying on those people that are killing themselves. So the intersectionality between health and public safety is something we really need to improve. We're working on that now and having a stronger officer presence. But once again, you see in areas of Belltown and 3rd, you see remarkable progress. It just hasn't been sustained because they come right back. And so now under our chief, he has a plan. It's called Seattle Centric Policing to address that.
Well, let's talk about public health, the system we're paying into. Is the harm reduction only approach working? Is it the right move? Should we clearly and quickly be telling addicts that we encounter right away, here are resources for getting into rehab, for getting into detox? Right now, we're waiting for addicts to come and ask for help, which can oftentimes take months, years, or never happen. What are your thoughts on that?
So there's no one magic pill. There's no one magic bullet, so to speak. That is one approach that does work often to try to have what we call contingency management incentives, if you will, but not the only approach. You see us making some very aggressive arrests as well. Sometimes people receive treatment when they're at the bottom part of their life, and you have to recognize that. So that's one method of many. You also have to look at the physical environment. Is the lighting right? Are there stores and activation in the area? You have to look at, do we have enough officers out on the streets? Do you also have people from, let's say, faith-based organizations or community-based organizations that may have a rapport with this person to get them into treatment, right? So we're trying many approaches. And I have to, when you become the mayor, you don't make excuses. We will throw the kitchen sink at the issue. What we don't want is we just make an arrest and they just spin in and out of the jail and they're right back where they're supposed to be. So you have to go upstream to figure out what's going on in their life. But you also have to protect the mother walking with a stroller in the street, or a person in a wheelchair that's trying to get through all of the problems. So we have a very holistic, very aggressive approach, but not one approach is the answer.
Would you say Seattle has a gang problem?
Well, I would say almost every major city does. And I was born and raised in this city, and I was here when there were no gangs. And so you do see many young people in particular that migrate to groups. There's drugs involved, not all in Seattle, by the way. They're all around the other cities, you name it. And again, we have gang prevention strategies in place. The fact is we are a big city. We're the fourth fastest growing city in the country. We're a wealthy city. We have big city problems. And so I'm uniquely qualified to work with the community-based organizations to reach these kids. And I try to reach them early. When in a 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th grade, have relationships with our officers and our gang prevention folks, our community-based organizations to do the outreach. And so what you don't see is all of the work we're doing with people who had come from that life, if you will, doing the outreach. You may see a tragedy that occurred, but as we speak right now, I know that there are community-based organizations talking to these kids about staying out of the gangs. We had to pull some participants out of the Chinatown International District a couple of years ago because we had intelligence that there was a gang issue way outside of Seattle, and there was going to be some retaliation. So we are doing a lot of preventative things that most people wouldn't even know why we do it.
There have been protests recently, the No Kings protests, largely peaceful. There was also a segment of Antifa who did decide to set fires, cause issues for police. What is your message for people who come to the city and are looking to stir up and foment violence?
Well, we don't like it. That's the short message. I recognize, being an attorney, that the First Amendment includes not just speech, not just religion, but the right to assemble, right of assembly. So we have to recognize that, and we have to respect it and practice democracy. At the same time, we do not want anyone throwing anything, laying hands on anyone. And so my officers are well equipped to make sure we're protecting everybody. But here in Seattle, we are a welcoming city. We should pride ourselves in this. I grew up in this city, literally born on Capitol Hill. So when we talk about welcoming, we are talking about immigrant and refugees. We are talking about LGBTQ+. We're talking about anyone that could be othered by our society. We say we appreciate that diversity. In fact, we love it. So I will protect our values as mayor. And quite frankly, I think I'm the only one in this race who's well versed in the Supremacy Clause and the 14th Amendment and the First Amendment, being able to articulate these values, because we will have to do that against our federal government in this case. So when people are coming here trying to impose their values on things that are inconsistent with Seattle values, as a Seattle-born mayor, I will say, not here. We love our community. And we have to model this. And so, when I run for office, and I've won several elections, 4 elections, I don't punch left and right. I don't punch up or down. I try to listen first. I'm biracial. When you grow up in a multiracial household, when people look differently, you learn to understand the other culture first. Why do they think that the way they do? So when people come here from other areas, I actually want to see what they're talking about. I may disagree, but I'm at least going to impress upon them the fact that I'm listening to them.
This is uncomfortable, but it is out there, and I feel like you deserve a chance to respond. So former Seattle Police Department Chief of Staff Jamie Tompkins is suing the city of Seattle for failing to stop rumors she was having an affair with the former Chief Diaz, saying she felt violated, degraded, and dehumanized at SPD. She told Fox that some of the crude comments came from you, Mr. Mayor. Again, this is uncomfortable, but it's out there. Here's the quote from Tompkins. He, being Diaz, says Mayor Harrell told him he didn't care about the rumor because he would do me too. This is uncomfortable, but again, I feel like you deserve a chance to respond to a claim like that.
First of all, it's not uncomfortable because it's not true. And unfortunately, I don't know Ms. Tompkins. I've never seen her. I've never interfaced with her. And anyone that knows me, I don't use terms like that. That would be disrespectful to my wife, number one, but disrespectful toward women. The fact of the matter is, let's look at the facts. The fact of the matter is, and there's ongoing litigation all around in this stuff, so I'm going to be very cautious on how I phrase this. The fact is that I believed in Chief Diaz. I believed in his integrity and him as a human being. I stood by his side. The fact is that a report concluded he was dishonest. And a report concluded that members of his security detail said things that were inconsistent with what he was saying to other folks. And I had to make the decision to terminate him. That was an uncomfortable decision, but a decision that clearly I had to make as the mayor. And so at this point, he said many things about a lot of people that I will assume over the course of litigation will surface. And so, but those statements were never made. And I think the record will reflect that.
I really appreciate your answering. Thank you.
I want to talk about at least rumors of ICE moving resources into the area, hoping to find out what you know about it. There have been rumors that multiple plane loads of ICE materials were dropped off at Boeing Field recently in anticipation of ICE activities. What does the city know about this, and how does the city plan to respond?
Yeah. So much like what you're getting, we just simply get rumors. Yeah. That's how working with this federal government sort of works. And so I have not had firsthand knowledge that that is actually true. But what we have done is we've done a few things. Number one is we've, with the Attorney General and the governor, both of them support my reelection, by the way, that we've made sure that we have a safe ecosystem of support and advocacy and legal lawsuits to protect what we're doing, protect our immigrants and refugees. Number one, under the Keep Washington Working Act, it is very clear we are not the ICE authorities. We do not perform that work, number one. Number two, there's a whole ecosystem of organizations that protect immigrant and refugees. One America would be an example. So we've convened is sort of the ecosystem of people that help folks in the case there is an unauthorized, unplanned ICE raid. They know what to do, where to go, who to call. We have attorneys ready to give assistance. And so we're going to do everything possible to protect our communities. And on a daily basis, we check in to figure out what's going on.
What would you say has surprised you about your first term as mayor?
What surprised me in first term as mayor? Well, maybe how quickly people forget. What I mean by that is when I took office in 2022, you remember what the streets looked like. I hope you do. I had to work in masks. My first day of the city, everyone was masked up, and there were so many businesses that were still just shut down. Under our administration, we're supporting small businesses again in an unprecedented way. We're nowhere near where we want to be, but we in our Seattle Restored program, we're helping fund businesses where there's plywood. Again, you look at all of the tents when we reduced tent encampments by 80%, offering shelter to people. Again, over 2,000 emergency shelter units to get people the housing or the shelter that they need. I don't want anyone dying in a tent in the cold or the heat. A lot of work. Again, when you have, the ratio of police officers per 1,000 should be about 1.9%. I'm sorry, 1.9. That's a good ratio of the number of officers towards your population. We have over 800,000 people. Close to 800,000 people here in the city now. When I took office, that's almost a third increase. There were less than 600,000 people here in the high 500,000s. We've had incredible growth. People forget how tough this has been to sort of reset the city, if you will. But we're up for it, and I have a great executive team that again can do functions above and beyond what they are paid. So putting together this team has been a lot of hard work, but again, we're up for it. But it's been surprising that people almost forget what Woodland Park looked like, for example, where you couldn't have a cross-country match, or again, what our sidewalks look like. Again, nowhere. We're not taking victory laps, but these were some real tough times that we had to rebuild. When I say we're getting 4,000 applications a year, it just didn't happen organically. I'm going to the police precincts at 4 a.m., 11 p.m., talking to our officers and saying, I see you, and I want you to see the vision that I want for Seattle to really, really work hard to keep everyone safe. They said no mayor's ever done that before.
You're in the big seat now. Could you maybe just talk to us about something you have learned, something that's made you go, aha, that you didn't realize came along with this job when you were on the city council, the council president, that has made you go, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way before?
Yes, I would say the scrutiny I thought I was a big deal when I was on city council. Heck, I was elected council president twice. I thought I had a little, I was being observed. Wherever I go now, people know who I am. They know what I stand for. This is a good thing. I love talking to people, even if they disagree. I think they are remarkably impressed with that. You could tell me you disagree with this, and I just listen and I try to explain my version of it. Just like the question you asked me about Ms. Tompkins. Yeah. I'm one of the few people that went to kindergarten in this place. I went to high school here. So I have friends all over. And again, the visibility, walking down the street, I go to the supermarket, I go to the coffee. There was a time where I could just enjoy a nice cup of coffee. And my cup of coffee, I get interrupted 4 or 5 times. People want to engage. And I didn't realize it was that level of scrutiny. And I've been told by many others, I sort of stick out in a crowd, I guess. And so I'm sort of easy to recognize. But that was a sort of an epiphany that I didn't realize. And so it gives me an opportunity to say, hey, let's talk about Seattle.
Hopefully they are engaging in a positive way when they're interrupting your coffee.
They are. But and they'll always start off this way. I don't mean to bother you, but and so
I don't mean to offend you, but
right.
Just real quick, in the second term of Bruce Harrell as Seattle mayor, are the Seattle Supersonics returning?
So no Sonics jokes. I think I learned the hard way there. I was really, now that would have been a tough question for me. I will say this, that we are best positioned, I think better positioned than any city in this country to have another team. And they are looking very with focused intention on Seattle. They know we have a great market here, a great fan base here. We have the facility here. So I like where we stand right now. And there's a lot of activity behind the scenes that we're doing to put us in that position.
Well, you have our number. You'll call us first, right?
I don't want to make that commitment, but you will get called.
Okay. Did the Thunder actually win their second championship on Sunday night?
Well, one thing I've learned, first of all, is it's always hard to even root for Indiana. So where did that come from? Now I'm supposed to be in Indiana. So I just I stay out of this Indiana OKC because I was told by my comms, you have to hate OKC. I don't hate anybody. So
awesome.
Seattle Mayor Bruce Harrell running for re-election. You are on the August ballot. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the conversation.
Take care.